faster than a speeding bullet,
I ran until my muscles burned and my veins pumped battery acid.
more powerful than a locomotive.
An idea is like a virus, resilient, highly contagious.
Able to leap tall buildings in a single bound.
Hey guys, Jared Moon here, and welcome to the Better Humanology podcast. Today we have CrossFit Games athlete Carleen Mathews. We talk a lot about training, but also she has a pretty fascinating story of going from drugs and alcohol to elite athlete. So she has a really awesome story, so definitely listen to this one. Before you do that, go over to into3fitness.com, sign up for the newsletter, and get access to a bunch of free stuff. Our 7-day barbell indoc program, you're going to get that, our ebook, and you're going to get access to articles when we email them out, and podcast episodes, and our 5-Line Friday, all sorts of awesome stuff, all aimed 100% at making you a better human. So go do that now. But without any further ado, guys, here is Carleen Mathews. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Better Humanology podcast. My name is Jared Moon, and with me today is Carleen Mathews. What's up, Carleen?
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, super glad to have you on, and everyone who listens to this podcast knows that we jump right into it, and we get started off with some challenges, making sure that the listeners are fired up and ready to go for their week. And I normally hand that over to the guest we have. So if you could hit us up with a fitness challenge first, and then we'll do the mental toughness challenge.
Okay, so my fitness challenge would be like a finisher. So every time you go in and train, just try to finish your session with something high volume. So meaning like if it's, if you did something upper body, then you'd finish with like 100 banded pull aparts. So pulling the band, pinching your shoulder blades together, or even like 100 lying leg curls with the band. I'm really into like all the high volume finisher type stuff, and it's a good thing to strengthen your ligaments and tendons, and so I've really seen a good benefit from that.
Awesome. So like some prehab work, preventing injury and stuff.
Absolutely, but you're doing it more like it's absolutely injury prevention, and you're doing it at the end of your session. Just kind of like think of like burnout sets.
Right.
High volume, 100, 200 reps.
Okay, awesome. And how about a mental toughness challenge?
So I've been working a lot on some of this stuff, and so something that really helped me recently was finding an affirmation for yourself. And so coming up with a good affirmation for yourself, and then writing it out, or doing anything creative to put it somewhere where you see every day. So whether that's the bathroom mirror, in your car, but somewhere outside of the gym that you can see every day. I put one on my phone and in my bathroom, so I'm seeing it in the morning and then all throughout the day.
I love that. And do you mind sharing your affirmation?
My affirmation is, I am one of the best.
I love that. And that's a phenomenal recommendation. I think that every listener should definitely take that on. But before we get any further, everyone knows your name, Carleen Mathews, but now let's go one step further. How about you give us a quick introduction, who you are, your background, what you're doing now, all that good stuff.
Okay. So I have grown up in sports and been pretty competitive my entire life. Leading into CrossFit, I was trying to find something competitive for me to do outside of college. Once I finished college sports, I played 5 years of college softball, and then kind of just was lost. I found CrossFit 6 years ago, and have been pretty successful with it. So I've been to the games the past 2 years in 2015 and 2016. And I am now an affiliate owner at CrossFit St. Helens. My husband and I own the gym here, and so right now I'm running a gym and training to make another push back to the games.
That's awesome. How did the affiliate owner thing happen?
So actually my coach, Chris McDonald, is used to be the owner of the gym that we now own, and he owned 2 gyms. So he started this gym and kind of got it going, and then realized that 2 gyms was just too much for him and his family and his business partner. And so I was working out here, and they were ready to kind of turn it over to me. So my husband and I basically just took over, and I ended up coaching, now I'm coaching all the classes, and it's pretty awesome.
That is awesome. And so you're 2 times games athlete and affiliate owner. So you've been to regionals, I think, 5 times, and so you're a very serious athlete. What does your day look like? I mean, to be honest, I think owning a gym by itself is probably enough to juggle. But then having to train at the level to actually make it to the CrossFit Games, that's like another full-time job in and of itself. What's your schedule look like on a daily basis?
Yeah, that's a good question. I get it a lot. Owning a gym and having our own affiliate is absolutely a full-time job. My husband also has another full-time job, so I'm at the gym all day. So I wake up and coach a 6 a.m. class. And then from there, I either will travel to, it's about 40 minutes to my coach. So I might travel to my coach, train with him for 2 to 3 hours, and then come back, coach another class. So then I coach my noon class. After the noon class, I'll usually maybe grab something quick to eat, and then I start training again. So then I'll train here just at my gym, and usually probably pushing training out from like 1:30 to 5:30 if I'm running behind. And then I coach again. So I'll coach a 5:30 and a 6:30 class. We're a little bit of a smaller gym, so we only have 4 classes a day, but it's plenty for me. So
yeah, it sounds like you have a lot going on. So let's shift gears a little bit to, I always do a lot of research on any guests I have on the show, and so I pull up everything I can on them, read about them, and learn as much as I can. And one thing that kind of seems to be a reoccurring theme in your life is just overcoming challenges. And I think, and maybe you can share your story of how you got into CrossFit. But I really want to focus on, anyone who has an inspirational story. They normally they kind of tell it, and then they're like, there's like a 4-second window, and they're like, and then I flip the switch or whatever. I'm now different, and that's kind of what I want to focus on. So maybe first, if you could tell us your story about how you got into CrossFit, and then how did you? I think everyone wants to know whether they're trying to build a new habit in their daily life or they need to make some changes in their life. Flipping that switch, how is that possible, and how did you do it?
Okay, so before CrossFit, when I was doing college sports, I always had that like competitive drive, that identity of being an athlete. And so when I walked away from college sports and started to adult, I found that I didn't have that anymore, and I started developing into bad habits. So I developed an eating disorder out of college. I also then kind of turned into drugs and alcohol. I was at a place in my life where I was really unhappy, and I didn't know who I was. I was just, I wanted to be who I thought everyone else wanted me to be. And so for me, I didn't find CrossFit until about 4 months clean and sober. And so my story really, like my change, my flipped switch was before CrossFit. It definitely, CrossFit definitely solidified my change and made me realize that what I was doing was right for me. But I always, I always hear these stories of people telling them that that I had an eating disorder, and then I just changed and I just got better. And for me, it didn't really work that way. I dealt with a lot of my family was really concerned. A lot of people questioned what I was doing, and I denied it for a long time. So there was probably like 6 months to a year of me just trying to hide from getting feedback from the people I loved. And then for me, it turned into finally getting into some treatment. I had done for as long as I can remember individual therapy. And so I worked with a counselor and was finally able for myself to admit that I had a problem and that I was ready to fix it. But I think that with me being able to admit that I did have a problem with the eating disorder, I knew that I had drugs and alcohol to turn back to. So that actually probably made my recovery from my eating disorder a little bit easier. Although it then turned into me realizing that I had a drinking problem. So I went to treatment for an eating disorder. I continued to drink and use drugs pretty heavily through my treatment. And once I graduated from that program, it was just an outpatient treatment center. I finally realized that that I had a drinking problem. So again, I was still doing individual therapy, and that was kind of where I got sober. Was I went in and it was I went into a therapy appointment hungover and just had been out drinking all weekend, and something happened, and I was finally ready to say that I didn't want to drink again for right now. And that was how it was. It was I had made a bad decision. I had betrayed a friend, or somebody who I thought was a friend. And I felt bad about it the next day. And so I wanted to make it right to that friend. And so I was going to show them that I could not drink.
Okay.
And that was where it started for me. I went in and said I need to do something different, and I'm just not going to drink for right now. And right now turned into 30 days, turned into 90 days, turned into probably the first full year before I could ever say to myself that I don't ever want to drink again. So, I mean, for me, mentally, that was how that had to work. It couldn't be, I couldn't look ahead. I had to look at, one day at a time. I couldn't make the commitment of never drinking again. Because I didn't know that was what I wanted. It took me a while before I realized that I was much happier without drugs and alcohol. So
I mean,
I don't know if that answers
that's perfect. I mean, you knocked it out of the park, because what you had this enormous task. I mean, you might not, maybe at the time you didn't even know it, maybe how hard it was going to be or how far you had to go, but you didn't worry about that much. That epic big picture. You were like, look, I'm just going to focus on not drinking for right now. I'm going to make the decision to not do it today. And then after today's over, you're like, okay, I can do one more day tomorrow. And you just slowly built on that, which I think, that's what I hear in a lot of top performers, is that when they're, accomplishing something really huge and epic, and like you today, making it to the CrossFit Games, I'm sure that when you're doing a workout, you're probably focused on doing the best you can in that workout, and not necessarily the best you can, thinking about the games the entire time that you're working out. You're just trying to get, the intensity at that moment done. So I think that's awesome. You definitely answered that question for me. And so, one thing I want to know is, you told me that you walk through that. You're basically making the decision one day at a time. But it also kind of brings to my mind, like, you preparing yourself for these epic moments, knowing what you have coming up. Say it's a games event. What's running through your mind when you, pre-CrossFit Games or before a CrossFit Games workout? How do you feel, and what emotions are you going through?
Sorry, you cut out real quick.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying, during the CrossFit Games, what are you, what's running through your mind before a workout, or, before it even starts? Like, what emotions are you going through? What are you feeling?
Well, so, like before a games event, obviously there's, it's really before any event, like games event, regionals event, open event. For me, they're very similar. But it's always nerves. And it's always, focus on the task at hand. So like, exactly like you're saying, like it is just one workout at a time. Trying to keep myself as relaxed, but also as, amped up as I can be. And it just depends on what the event is. So if I need to be in a more relaxed state, then I need to stay more relaxed. If I need to be like amped up to like lift something heavy, then I need to be, then I'm going to have to get to that place. I've been working a lot on like mentally expectations. So not having expectations for myself, or not having outsiders' expectations, or what I perceive to be others' expectations influence how I feel about an event. So that's been something that has been pretty big for me lately. And like I said, I think it just depends on, it's going to depend on the event. But for the most part, just trying to like stay within myself and not worry about what's going on outside of me.
And so going back to something you said, what does an amped, relaxed look like? Is that like amped mentally but relaxed in the body? What do you mean by that?
It would just depend. So if I'm going to, I want to be amped physically, meaning like primed. Like I want my heart rate up. I want the, blood flowing through my body. But at the same time, I don't want to mentally be stressed about the event. So, and like I want to be relaxed mentally so that I can, continue to focus on, the task that I need to complete.
Okay. And it sounds like you have, between coaches and everything else, you have a pretty supportive network. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and has that played an important role through everything you've been through? Have you always kind of had the same support network? It sounds like your family is pretty strong in helping you with your, recovering from addiction and your eating disorder. So have you always had this strong network of people pushing you forward? Is it something that you've had to develop on purpose? How has that come about?
Yeah, I mean, I've been extremely blessed to have an amazing support system. When I was playing college sports, my parents were extremely supportive of me. Even just growing up, my parents were super supportive. They're the reason why I was in sports, growing up. And then the coaches I had around me, even in growing up in sports, were extremely supportive. I actually still have contact with one of my pitching coach from high school, college, and he was with me through kind of like my entire career, and it was just a really, really supportive and good relationship. And so now I think it kind of paved the way for me to seek out those supportive people for like my CrossFit career.
Okay, so it is like kind of you realize the importance of it now. You're doing it on purpose. Or
Yeah.
you kind of had it, you realized it, and now you're doing it on purpose.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so this is kind of a random question, but what's your first thought when you wake up in the morning?
I check my phone.
All right. Check your phone, see what you missed. What your
Yeah.
All right. Here's another question. It's what's the last thing you do before you go to bed?
It's probably my phone, but
Just book in
no,
the day.
I mean, the last thing I do before I go to bed is try to visualize like the next day, and then just try and do some sort of like relaxation to kind of get myself to sleep.
Yeah, are you a pretty high energy type of person most of the time?
I can be, but it usually by the time I'm ready for bed, I'm like my husband would say, like I'm ready for, like I was falling asleep at the table last night, because the amount of it's not really the physical stuff that I'm doing, it's more mental. So like things like yesterday I had 5 new people in one class, and for me that's very, very mentally draining.
Right.
So yeah, it was kind of more like mental, and obviously I'm physically tired, but
yeah, I can totally relate to the mental. Like I could work out at a moderate intensity for most of the day, but like once I get taxed mentally, like I'm ready to shut down at night. That's basically how it goes.
yeah.
So here's a question I like to ask guests from time to time. So say there's a nationwide curriculum implemented. The president calls you up and he says you're responsible for one chapter of the book. So every child in America is going to have to read this book, and they're going to have to read your chapter. specifically, and they have to be tested on it and pass before they can graduate, let's say high school. So given this enormous responsibility and the fact that I just threw this at you with no preparation, what would you say at this moment would your chapter be about in this book?
I think that at this moment, like in my life, my chapter would probably be on overcoming obstacles and probably just like perseverance, being able to get through what you mentally want to get through. So for me, a lot of stuff right now is revolved around choice. Like everything is my choice, and well, not everything, but a lot of things in my life are choice, and I have the choice to, take one day at a time. I have the choice to accept things as my fault. I have the choice to accept things as, as they are. And I have the choice to be confident in myself. And so I'm finding lately that a lot of things are my choice. And so I think that those are kind of big things right now in my life.
That's great. Yeah. I love this, the choice thing. How long have you been practicing that, and where did that come from?
Originally it came from, I lost my dad 4 years ago unexpectedly. And, the last thing that I told him, when he passed was, that I would make it to the CrossFit Games. So, I worked for 2 years. So that was in 2014. So the 2014 year, I fell one place short of the games. And then in 2015, I made it to the games. But once I made it, it was like everything that I had trained for, everything that I had worked so hard for 2 years was kind of like, okay, well, what now? I made it to the games, but like I still wasn't happy. And I realized that I was training and I was pursuing that goal because there was something inside of me that was telling me that if I made it to the games, that I would get him back. And I realized that I had never accepted his loss, and that that was a choice for me, and that I had to choose to accept his loss, and not that it was, okay for me, but that was kind of where it started. Like I was a choice, and once it was framed to me in that way, I got it. So kind of started there, and then and I think for me, like once I get something and I understand it in one part of my life, I can relate it to every other part of my life. It's when I'm looking at, drugs and alcohol, it's a choice for me. And it's not an option for me. So if it becomes, then it's really not a choice. Like it's not an option to drink. So it's not hard. And then, one of my coaches, then said to me just recently, confidence is your choice. Like you choose to be confident. And so then that really resonated with me, because it had already resonated with me in somewhere else that was really close to me. So now it's kind of going everywhere for me in my life.
That's awesome.
That makes sense.
I think that's a great bit of advice, and I wanna go a little bit further on what you just said about confidence. We just recently did a show, and we titled the show "Confidence is the Drug of Champions," and it's based off of a lot of research, basically saying, a lot of top level athletes turn to performance enhancing drugs when really they could probably get the same results by turning towards filling their mental space with a lot more confidence. And I want to know what role has confidence played with you over the last couple of years, getting to where you have in the games and overcoming some of the obstacles that you've overcome.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I've never really looked at confidence as being something that helped me overcome drugs and alcohol or even eating disorder. It would even lean towards like lack of confidence, led to the eating disorder. But I'm sure that it did play a role. I've just never really thought about it. But now is where I am really seeing the confidence play a role in my performance. And I'm finding that when I am confident, I flourish. My performance is much better than when I'm not confident. And somebody had said to me, because last year at regionals, they had said, your performance at regionals, I would have, you just looked very, very confident. And they're where did that come from? And my response was, I don't know. Because I don't know where it came from, but it was there, and I remember it, and I know how it felt, and I know that it was the game changer for me. If that makes any sense. I don't know necessarily where it came from. I think it had to do a lot with me being comfortable at there wasn't a lot of unknown for me at the regionals. I knew I belonged, and then it was kind of fake it till you make it. So it was tell yourself you're confident and act confident enough until you believe it. And that's really the only thing I can say as far as where it came from, was that I knew I needed to be confident. And so I portrayed that until I believed it.
That's awesome. It's fake it till you make it with confidence is, that's incredible. And I'm sure that all of your training leads to a certain amount of confidence. I know some real big confidence killers sometimes can just be, maybe you touched on it earlier, but especially in competition or something, or even in life, just comparing yourself to others, or having these expectations. Either someone else has expectations for you, you set these own expectations for yourself, and if they don't happen, or especially comparing yourself to others, if you don't feel like you're good enough, it kind of destroys your confidence. How do you kind of stay away from those feelings? I'm sure they show up occasionally, but how do you have a strategy or tip for trying to stay away from that?
Yeah, they absolutely show up for me. I'm working right now to on different strategies for myself to get rid of those thoughts, or to to get the confidence, get the more positive thoughts to outweigh the negative ones. Just things like my affirmation, for me, like repeating that over and over again, when I start to have those thoughts of comparing myself to others, or thinking about expectations of others, I will definitely like repeat my affirmation, go back to my affirmations. Another thing is, for me, is to just like start reframing it. So I'll acknowledge that that the thought came in. I'll start to refocus, and then kind of like attack the next movement. So if I'm in a workout, I'll acknowledge the negative thinking, refocus, and then get back to like my affirmation, to get back to work. It's absolutely something that I think that no matter how confident you are, you're always still going to have those things that come up that,
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think everyone struggles with that, no matter how much success they've seen or anything. Yeah, I think everyone's gonna struggle with that to some degree. But what's amazing is what you just said in your workout is like recognizing it and being aware of it, so you can reframe it. That's a hard skill to develop. I'll be honest. I'm just very impressed by it. I think that's awesome.
Oh, I'm still working on it. I'm not that great, but it is something that I'm working on, and having to trying to practice it in like my just daily life even, so that when I do get, in a regional workout, that I can do it on the fly. Right. I think it's definitely something that requires practice.
Oh yeah, for sure. All right, Carleen, I'm going to ask you, well, actually, I want to ask you one more question before we get to the quick fire questions. And it is, what is the craziest, most outrageous thing you want to achieve?
I want to win the CrossFit Games.
That's awesome. I was hoping you would say that. That's incredible. And so I'll be looking for you in this year. I mean, we got the Open coming up, and
yeah,
I'm excited to watch your progress.
Thank you.
Are you ready for the quick fire questions?
Yes.
Okay, so what's the hardest workout you've ever done?
Okay, so this was hard for me. So I just recently did an event in Vancouver. The Fort Vancouver Invitational is a pairs event, and we had to drag us 2 stall mats 90 feet, then run back, get a 120-pound sandbag, carry that 90 feet, then run back, get a 100-pound D-ball, carry that 90 feet, followed by 15 D-ball over the shoulders, and then sprint to tag our partner off. And that was the hardest workout that I've done in a long time. And it's so silly because it was super fast and it shouldn't have been that hard. But like when I was sprinting back to tag my partner out, people thought I was injured because I was limping because I couldn't feel my legs.
Oh, wow.
So I finished that workout being like, that was horrible. That was just a horrible workout.
Well, so, I know for a fact I have a bunch of horse stall mats in my backyard, and just dragging those things around for a day, because I have a bunch of them. That's a workout by itself. That's really difficult.
Yeah.
Alone. All right. Yeah. So in your opinion, what's the best activity for building mental toughness?
I would say affirmations. I love affirmations. I will write them out. If I come up with a good one for myself, then I'll do something creative to like post it on, somewhere that I'm going to see every day. And then I'll like make them for my phone. So I like to change them, because if I see it on my phone every single day, all day, it starts to lose its importance.
Right.
So I frequently change them.
Okay. If you could only have one piece of equipment to train with for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Originally I would have said like a sled, but I think I want to go with a belt squat machine.
Okay.
Because you can do so many different things on it. And you can't like, you'd never get bored with it.
Right.
So it'd always be like, you can always change it and always do something different with it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And the first time we've gotten that answer on the show. So
yeah.
Awesome. All right. So here's the question of the show everyone gets. What's your best advice you have for becoming a better human? 100% open-ended here.
For me, I think that what helped me was when I learned that I'm free to be me. When I finally realized that I don't have to be anyone, I don't have to be who I think everyone else wants me to be. I don't have to be somebody that I'm not. I'm free to be me, and I'm, whether people accept that or not it doesn't matter. So that's what I would say is just be yourself and find out who you are. And then, free to be you.
I love that. I really do. I think that that's a journey on its own, but I absolutely love that piece of advice.
Absolutely.
All right. So what is the best place for people to learn more about you or what you're doing?
I have Instagram, Team Carleen, and Twitter is Team Carleen also. Okay. And Facebook is Carleen Mathews.
Okay, perfect. I will definitely link to all of that stuff in the show notes when this is published. But other than that, Carleen, I really appreciate you being on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Your best. Losers always whine about their best.